right, y'all. Today, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Evan Aldo. Evan, man, I am honored to have you on the channel. It's been quite some time. How you been, bro?
Been good, been amazing, man. It's been great. It's been a minute, so yeah, really grateful to be on to talk to the legend, the man of legend who's really blown up, Jason Casper. So appreciate you, man. You're looking fantastic. You're on your treadmill. You are on top of the world. It looks like, man.
Bro, it's just it's the steroids, the diet pills, the treadmill, everything kind of works together. I'm just loving
Whew.
life, bro. I'm just
There's
loving
probably
life.
people that actually believe that first part, right?
Yeah, some people they say, all I do is inject trend. And maybe it's true. Like, who knows? What do I know? You know?
Yeah. Nah, you don't look like you. I don't know if this is take it as a mild compliment, but you look like you could be on steroids, but you don't look like you are. You know what I mean? You look like it's possible, but not 100%. Like there's some people you see, you're like, yeah, that's 100%. Like you see the Liver King, like you know.
Yeah, the Liver King, man. That was crazy. That was crazy. Well, how's YouTube treating you, bro? How's trading treating you? I know it's been kind of slow there in the bear market, but how's everything going?
Yeah, it's good. It depends how your views were, the past few months. It's always good if you were right. It's bad if you didn't have the best predictions. Like if you're predicting like major altcoin season, starting around this time, wouldn't be the most fun. If you're predicting maybe Bitcoin dominance going up, Bitcoin outperforming a lot of the alts, like I've been talking about. So you could pat myself on the back. I was right about that. It's kind of always how it's fun. But there's been stuff going on in the market. Those fixed volume range profiles have been useful for a lot of scalps. I had a scalp long in on the live stream yesterday that did really well. Full disclosure, I did get stopped out of one before that. I like to be completely transparent. You got to always, you're never going to be right 100% of the time. But I think, a lot of the long-term stuff too, a lot of the swing trades, especially now, I think there's some swing shorts that have a good probability of kind of playing out when you look at, how the market is right now. It is a little bit slower, we're kind of range bound, but the thing here is, and how about I share my screen a little bit? Let me show you what I've been looking at. When you're range bound, it's not necessarily that bad a thing. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
And I look at a lot of these altcoins too. If I got Chainlink up here, range bound. I just want to show you one thing here.
Yeah,
This could be
Link has been wild, man, with that range.
just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now potentially seven. And every time here, you've come down to the volume area low, essentially, of this range every single time. And this is, it's going to break at some point. You're not going to, sure, you may lose this trade, but I'd give this probably an 80%, 70, 80% chance of winning, like something of this nature. Obviously you need good risk management. Obviously, if you're betting the entire farm, both literally in some cases for some people.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You're looking for this range to break down. That's wild, bro.
And then kind
Are
of
you in
like
this short right now?
I am in the short. Yeah, I am in the short with probably a setup pretty similar to this. I believe I entered it yesterday, and I'd give it a high probability of kind of working out. You may have to wait a minute. You may have to wait till another 3 weeks for this to kind of play out. And when I look at also, I always look at Bitcoin, the granddaddy for confluence and things. You've probably, let me look at actually a cleaner chart here. This is kind of my prediction. 31K top for this year. And then if we move this over a little bit, correction at 300 weekly moving average, I think you're going to make kind of a higher low as you did this time. And as you did this time, this 4-year cycle, man, is just like, there's no other market that has that's followed history so much. And we could also look at, if you look at the weekly right here, look at this guy right here, very similar to this guy over here, this green dot back here. This was October of 2019. I think we're about a month ahead of this. And essentially, if you don't count the pandemic, we bottomed out in December here. We're about a month ahead of this. And December was a year after. It was a year after the first low. Why is that relevant? Because If we're a month ahead of this, we could bottom out potentially in November of this year, hit our higher low, which I think will be high 20s to low teens, which was what
I
I'm.
have a very similar outlook, bro.
Yeah,
I have a similar outlook, but I have a few more details in between. I have a
ooh,
few
I'd
more
like to hear
details.
them.
Yeah, man. Let me see if I can share my screen with you.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Let's see here. Hang on, guys. You know the Jason Casper YouTube channel is not the most professional in the world.
I got a question. Is the treadmill like, does it take a while to get used to that while you're doing work?
No, man, not for me. I am always more productive while I am
Wow.
walking. Yeah. Whenever I'm talking, I'm always walking, man. So this is my granddaddy master plan that I've had like literally since July. So this is a short I'm currently in. I'm looking for us to do this. I'm looking for us to get the retrace back to 30K to fake everybody out and then head and shoulder it down. And honestly, bro, I'm my target, if there's no black swan, white swan, what is it? Black swan,
Black Swan, yeah.
then my target is pretty low, like this right here. Boom. The yearly open 16.5K.
Wait. If there's no black, oh wait, you're saying if there is a black swan or no black
If there's
swan?
no black swan,
Oh my, you think we're going that low? Wow.
I think so, because here's why. Here's why.
By
If
year end, by year end.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
potentially.
Interesting. I thought I was bearish.
At least down to 18, at least to retest this. At least to retest this.
Okay.
Because once we come back down into this old range here, I see no reason why we wouldn't have significant follow through. And also, if we pull the fib from the low to the high, it's pretty much right around that 786 area. I mean, that 786 area, especially on ByBit, is like the support resistance flip right around, 18K basically. And so I think that would be enough to get everybody saying crypto's over, crypto's dead. I think we still need some kind of last kind of capitulation event that will spark the real bull run. Because we kind of always had that. Like in 2015, we made that double bottom. And then in 2019, we had the black swan with the Roni. And both times, I mean, it was people were saying that's it. Like we're crashing down even more. And both times that was the trigger to the bull market. It would just seem too predictable to come in and hit 20K or something and then get our bounce from there. It would just seem too predictable. Everybody's got their eyes on 20K,
Yeah, no, that's what happens to me a lot. Like I'll look at the charts, I'll discover something, and I'll think I'm really smart for discovering it. And then like 2 days later, everybody will be saying the same thing, and I'll be like, "Oh, damn, this is definitely not happening now."
Yeah, because can you imagine like the sentiment if we
Yeah.
lose 20K? Like we had the Silvergate wick down. That wick brought us down to like 19K. So if we lose that low, everyone's going to be like, "Oh my goodness, we're really changing market structure now." I think we're gonna test 9K. I think we're gonna come back down and hit those levels we were looking at for back in November 2022. And then we front run the super bearish targets, but we dip below everybody's real target. We bounce somewhere in the middle, kind of like last time when we hit everyone. No one thought we would go to 3K.
Yeah.
And then once we start dumping, people are like, we're going to 1,000. We're going.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember looking at my Coinbase account at the exact bottom at 3.8K and the Corona or the Corona beer dump. And
Yeah.
I remember I was just looking at my phone and I was on like a train at the moment going into New York City. And I was starting to realize this train's normally completely packed and nobody's on the train. I'm like one of the only people. There's like three other people. They're all wearing masks and gloves and crap. And I'm just sitting there like normal. And I'm going into the city and then I'm looking at my phone. And then I go into Chinatown in New York City and there's just nobody. There's nobody. I'm in China because at the moment, everyone's
crazy,
so
bro.
afraid to go there. But anyway, I mean, yeah, I remember that. That was wild. That was wild, man. And I remember people were texting me. It was going down. One of my other friends was texting me, dude, you got to buy in, put everything in, everything. It's going back. It's going back. Yeah, that kid
Really?
was right. Yeah, one
Yeah,
person was telling me, my friend was like, dude, it's go. He was talking about the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, though. To be fair, he was like, dude, going to NASDAQ, it's coming back. They're going to print money. Don't worry, they're going to print money. Like, and he was
interesting,
right,
man.
but he was the only person. That was like one person that said that, and he actually did very well in that. I think he made a lot on the way up, and then probably lost a lot on the way down, but like everybody. But yeah, let me show you something that would kind of agree with what you were talking about a bit. And I kind of think if we do lose 18K, if we do a double bottom, man, I think it's going to take longer to get that low than the end of the year. I think there's going to be people coming in to kind of buy it up. I think it may take a little bit longer. And what I want to show you is, because Bitcoin's always bottomed at a major kind of moving average historically, and the moving average gets worse every time. But if you look at the 300 weekly right here, that was the Rona low. And then if you look at I mean, it goes all the way back. It was the 200 weekly back here. The 300 weekly currently is at around 21. Now, what gets interesting is if we look at the 400 weekly, the 400 weekly right here is right at, that's your double bottom, 16.5. That's a big area. Now, the maximum one we could look at here potentially is your 500 weekly, which people have talked about. That's going to be at 13K. That's going to be at
Hmm.
that lower area. Do you think we could lose? You know, what do you think the
Yeah.
odds are? Do you think we could go down that low, 13K?
I think it really depends. I was just talking about this with somebody and I forget who, but I really think it depends on what happens in the world. Like
Yeah.
things are pretty volatile geopolitically right now,
Yes.
you know,
Very bad. Yeah.
and we could see something unprecedented happen that would probably cause a lot of selling, a lot of people to get their assets out of the markets and like get their stuff together, you know, sell their stocks and buy some beans and rice or whatever. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that could see us dip below the low. And in that case, then I am looking to those lower supports that we have, because I will be honest, in November, even though I did buy on spot at 15.5 and long on leverage at 15.5, I was expecting lower.
I think
So
a lot of people were, man. I think a lot of people were because we weren't like hitting off of any major like moving average at the point. 13K was
exactly, bro.
yeah, that was why. Yeah.
We seemingly stopped in the middle of nowhere. I think we bounced. You know what? It was a swing failure pattern of a low that bounced from like a random naked monthly point of control or something. So it was
Mm,
not a major level at all.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. What I was gonna, what I'm showing you right here, this is interesting. This is like, I try to find things that nobody really looks at. If you look at the NASDAQ after the dot-com bubble, when it bottomed out, is the time frame it bottomed out on that was crossing into the red was the 18-day. Essentially,
Hmm.
it bottomed out when the 18-day confirmed in the red over here, maybe a week after, actually. If you look at Bitcoin right now, the 18-day, when could that confirm in the red? A lot of things are pointing to November for me. A lot of things are pointing to November. And
You
the,
think it's actually going to turn red on 18 day?
in the 18 day, I mean, it has before right here. This was in September
Hmm.
2020. I think it's going to go into the
Interesting.
red. I think for the first time, we're going to see the monthly go in the red as well. However, we could be bottomed out before that happened because if you look at the NASDAQ on the monthly, see, we were already bottomed out for like a year, 2 years before we went into the red, and we finally did. So we could bottom out before right there. Um, that's that comparison. The thing that a lot of people I think overlook a little bit here is what I like to look at is Bitcoin versus let me actually get that open on a new tab here. Bitcoin versus M2. I don't know. Do
Hmm.
you ever look at this Bitcoin versus M2?
No.
This is interesting to look at, bro, because this bit is basically factoring in money printing, factoring inflation almost. And if we look
Hmm.
at, so let's look at that 15K. That 15K right here is essentially this point where it's slightly, yeah, it's essentially this point right here, this drop down that we were seeing in September of 2019 before the kind of the drop down. And let's look at that. If we look at that on regular Bitcoin here, yeah, if we look at this on regular Bitcoin, that let's see here, September of 2019 area before kind of the drop down, look at where we were. We were at about 10K.
Hmm.
So when you factor in buying power and when you factor in inflation, we kind of already went down to 10K in my opinion. This is something I overlooked when I was saying we would go lower than 15K potentially back when we were in November.
Mhm.
But when you factor in that buying power, we already went down below 10K. Have you ever looked at the S&P 500 versus M2?
No, I have
That's
not.
it. Oh, that's a good chart.
Yeah, let's take a look.
SPX. Oh my, you're gonna love this.
Oh, wow.
So look at this triple top pattern right here.
Wow.
This is pre-pandemic dump. This is December 21, and this is versus money. We can't get above this area versus money printing. So
Mhm.
essentially, this is all we're still at the buying power. I mean, it's not 100%, but give or take, we're at the buying power of the S&P 500 before the pandemic. So we've recovered to pre-pandemic areas, but now we're rejecting from it essentially.
Interesting.
So yeah, so and then if
So
you
you're
really
bearish on the stock market then?
yeah, in terms of buying power, yeah, I mean does this look good to you? I mean
Not at all,
triple
bro.
top, right? Yeah, sure. There's another chart that oh man, I forgot the ticker, but there's
Dang, I
another
just
one.
longed SPX too, so I actually just did a
Nice, man.
TP1 on it. So, but
Nice,
I
nice.
was hoping we put in a double top.
Okay. And if you look at this, we really in terms of money flow, we really topped out in March of 2000 before that recession.
Mhm.
So if you look at this was like, prime of the empire from 1980 to essentially 2000. Now we're just in that new era where you're kind of just living off debt and printing money and it's not really doing too much. But I mean, to be fair, you did have a kind of good decade from after the Great Recession. And now, you're just hitting some major speed bumps here. But in terms of short term on the SPY, let's take a little look at that. I just want to take a little because the short term kind of is yeah, I got a target at around 440. Potentially could come up higher here.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at, man. It's kind of what I'm looking at. Like right now, the fact that we're above, well, I'm looking at the ES mini futures chart, but
You want to share your screen? You want to show?
yeah, sure, let me share.
Were you able to? I'm just seeing.
Yeah, hang on.
Okay.
Do you see anything or no?
No, no. Now I do. Now I do. Okay. Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, so this is the mini futures chart here on the ES, which is basically just a stock S&P futures. Now that we're above this key level of 43.82, that's a major sign of strength to me, because this old range right here, I'm looking basically for us to either come up toward this high volume node and reject, or potentially put in like a double top and then get the real rejection. Because look at how juicy. Because money flow.
Mhm.
This is the daily. We could even go to the weekly. Like money flow was still getting thicker when we put in this high up here. Can you imagine if we come up and put in like a divergence now with the money flow getting lower? That would be like the ultimate short opportunity, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah. If you get like another double top, and I think you might. Where would your timeline for that? When do you think we would hit I don't know, the four, you're looking at 4549?
I don't know. Yeah, yep, right around there. You know what? I don't really have a timeline, because the dollar still seems pretty bullish to me.
Yeah.
So like I'm just kind of keeping my eyes on the dollar for this idea to like actually play out. So like let's pop over to the dollar. I mean, right now dollar is, in my opinion, like at a make it or break it kind of area, but we could extend this thing like obviously all the way up to like retest this support resistance flip at the golden
Oh yeah.
pocket. But
Yeah.
if we do see the dollar like start to lose the box and get a move back down,
Yeah.
let's kind of, money flow starting to come down. I mean, maybe like around November, which I guess is your bearish target, but maybe we'll have a surprise. Maybe we'll have a surprise. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there obviously nobody really knows. It's impossible to really say. I mean, what I was going to ask you too, what do you think of like, because obviously the Fed has been pretty hawkish. I mean, we're paused in interest rates right now. Yields are going to the moon. They're kind of rejecting from 5%. Nobody's able to really afford to buy a house or sell a house or move because of it. Fed is favored to finally start to pivot around May. What do you think of all that?
Um, well, I think that potentially this what's happening right now with the wars is going to give the Fed an excuse to have to start printing again.
Yeah,
I mean, we've already given all our money to another country that's at war, that
yeah,
starts with a U. And
yeah. I mean, I was going to say it's wild because we're like printing money and we're raising rates. We're kind of like running the AC and the heat at the same time. Like
yeah,
it's never really been done before, and like we don't know what that does like long term.
I know it's yeah, it's like burning the candle from both ends, bro. I mean, that's the only
Yeah,
way to look at it. And eventually, there's going to either have to be a hyperinflationary collapse or a bank collapse, like where there's literally just like no money, like bank bail-ins, you know, where like there's no money.
the theory is that if we raise any more, so many more regional banks are just going to collapse, and it's like not going to be sustainable. Like you can't really like the rumor is you can't really raise any more than what we've already raised without collapsing so many regional banks, and gold would soar, Bitcoin would price soar if that did
I
happen.
know. So
I think, yeah, go ahead.
what's so weird is, I'm sure you would agree, it seems like they're doing everything they can to like collapse something, to make something break. And it's like, are they going to come in from left field with like some kind of like CBDC solution or something? Like, what's it all going to lead to? Because there is no way right now, if we turn back on the printing presses, that we're not going to see some kind of insane hyperinflation, especially since the whole world is like turning away from the dollar. I know they're playing it down, but just the fact that, Saudi Arabia is openly saying, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll trade in a not dollar. I mean, that's crazy. 10 years ago, you would have you would have been killed for saying,
Yeah, I mean we're getting to that point. I think it's more long term. It could take some time. Let me show you what I was kind of my prediction for potentially the SPY. Now keep in mind Bitcoin does typically bottom out before the S&P 500. What I was kind of guessing here is if we look at this trajectory, see how your Heiken Ashi turned red right here and you started to come down, you confirm the red dot in the monthly.
yeah.
If you do this, if you repeat something of this nature, and you come down like this, that's potentially a lower low at like pre-pandemic numbers.
Ooh,
Say, and you know how the Fed typically things bottom out after the Fed pivots. It could be different this time because everything's crazy, but say the Fed pivots around April or May or something. I think
mhm.
they're definitely going to pivot. If we get anywhere close to this low, like if we get anywhere close to like 360, they're going to pivot. But usually things bottom out a bit after they pivot. Then you get a dump down potentially into the summer while they continue to pivot to this low. And then you recover a lot like into the election. You have a good recovery,
Hmm.
maybe back up to here into like you see a lot of volatility because we know they're gonna. I mean, Powell, his track record is interesting. It seems like what he's done has definitely benefited Trump a lot more than it's benefited Biden. Like when Trump was in low interest rates, things going nuts, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it was interesting in that respect. Like
The economy
Biden,
was good
it's
on paper.
yeah, like it helped Trump quite a bit, and it's kind of the opposite with Biden. It's almost like he doesn't really like Biden, which is really funny. And we'll see what
Yeah.
happens. I mean, typically election years, you if you look at the last election, like the 2015 into 2016, 2015 towards the end was generally kind of bearish, and then early 2016 was kind of bearish. So that's typically what you kind of see. Other than, I mean, '08 was an election year, and that just came down the basically the entire year through the election. I mean, that would be why that would be a landslide for Trump if that does happen. And then you have RFK Jr. running as an independent. I mean, that would probably
So
take a few.
interesting.
Did you see that yesterday?
What?
RFK Jr. is running as an independent now.
Oh, he's no longer Democrat.
Yeah, he's running as independent,
I
which
didn't know he did that yesterday.
yeah, yesterday, yeah. So that's probably going to take away. I mean, it'll take away from both sides, but it's probably going to help out Trump a little bit more than it would help out Biden, in my opinion, because he's a Kennedy. I mean, that's a Democrat. So that's that, and then it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Coming down to this point for the S&P 500 potentially. Keep in mind though, Bitcoin typically bottoms out before it, but if we do see, that double bottom, I think I could be wrong, but I think it's going to take longer. I think we're going to see that sometime early next year to mid next year if we do see that double bottom. What would be the biggest like fear thing where everybody thinks crypto is dead? You go through the halving and nothing happens and you continue to go down.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you really could see crypto, like people really capitulate. Now, if we look at Bitcoin ETH here, have you looked at this chart? This is an interesting one.
I haven't looked in a while, bro.
So this is, if we break down from where we are right now, theoretically you have a technical target at 0.037. We've bled against Bitcoin about over 10% in the last few weeks. Look at this money flow right here. See this money flow?
Yeah.
This area. If you do repeat that, see how the money flow is the same? You would be coming into January, early next year. You'd see a bigger drop down into January, and that's probably the big accumulation phase. For Ethereum, Bitcoin dominance as well is on a huge trajectory upward. I think it's kind of a no-brainer that this is going to top out probably, if you look at these RSIs, coming up a little bit more into December, into early next year, right around this area, December. So everything's kind of pointing towards that, or later this year, early next year. You have a technical target at 58 right here. This is probably enough to get your freaking Doge, all the nonsense in the market
The
flushed out.
alts.
And if we look at Dogecoin too, I mean, how much more can this survive? Unless Elon comes in and does that Twitter payments thing, which I don't think is going to happen. His track record with crypto is awful. This is probably going to fall down farther and potentially bring you down to like 4 cents or something,
What an
which
opportunity.
yeah, I mean, sure. All those Robinhood people capitulating,
Yeah.
but that's that. And then if we look at some of the other meme coins, like where is it? Pepe.
Oh, Pepe.
This completely capitulating down another like 60%. That's where you're kind of done. And then if we look at like Ape, I know this isn't a meme coin technically, it's kind of would follow the NFTs. How much farther could this go down? Maybe 50 cents or something. I mean, a dollar is a big area. You're probably going to get a jump from right here. Got your yellow X's, but man, that money flow is not too promising on your 3-day. 2-day money flow, you might have something pretty soon. Do you look at the NFTs at all, the apes and all that?
Nah, I don't, man. But Crypto Face's words are still ringing in my head. If it ain't got a frog, if it ain't got a dog, then it ain't going to do jack in the next bull run.
Ooh, that is blasphemy right there. Ooh. I'm still waiting.
Bro.
I think we could see another like 50% drop down for a lot of the mutant apes, the bored apes. That's
yeah. I mean, he was just saying that's where the real gains are going to be. Like, not necessarily they're going to pump right now. He's just saying like, Bitcoin and ETH and all that, the mind blowing, life changing gains are kind of over.
This one's interesting too. Have you looked at BNB? Because this one, oh my God, could come down another like 80% before you see like a major point. And you do have a technical target out of this breakout at 70% right here. So hopefully it happens quicker rather than longer. But I think worst case scenario, we're going to see some of these bleed out until potentially Q1 to Q2 of kind of next year. And then I think the second that the Fed pivots, the second that the Fed puts on that money printer, the altcoin season really starts here. The second like that money printer comes on, you're back in the 4-year cycle, the altcoin season starts. And then you have a lot of opportunities for, maybe I'm trying to click on it let's see here. AVAX right there. trigger wave to the bottom, looking bad. I think this could eventually hit $5 or something.
Yeah,
Lower area, $6. But after that, you could have a nice recovery upward. I mean, easily a 20x potentially if you get back to old all-time highs here. Dot is another depressing one, keeps making lower lows. This is almost enticing because these lows right here, almost enticing. But the thing I'm looking for a lot of these altcoins is a nice bull div on your 2 week. Bull div on your 2 week, maybe in January, you come down a bit farther, go down to like $2-3. Everybody thinks it's dead, and then right
yeah,
back up. You know what I mean? Like you got some good potential. You got some good potential here.
for sure, man. I mean, I think in general right now, this is there's a lot of potential in the markets with everything going on, and the potential of more downside on everything is in the long term going to be a great opportunity for people. But
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
man. Do you I don't want to keep you too long, but is there anything else you want to say to the people, like before we wrap up? Where can everyone find you? Where can everyone get a
Oh
hold
yeah.
of your juicy content?
Check out the YouTube channel. Evan Aldo is the YouTube channel. Check that out. And the Discord is there's a free and a premium one. And I just released a completely free new mini course on DCAing into crypto with some of the strategies, some of the stuff I was kind of talking about, the stream, the places to potentially get into. 100% it's free, I swear, to get into like crypto, to get into these markets, DC and all its Bitcoin dominance and all that. So check that out. And I'm on Twitter as well, or X now. So check that out. So yeah.
Nice, bro. Yeah, man. Well, everyone, make sure to like, subscribe to Evan Aldo, and make sure to like, subscribe to Jason Casper. God bless everyone, and I will see
Thanks so
y'all
much, man.
in the next video. Peace, Evan. Thank you, man.